everyone for coming here. We're having the final session in the Lava workshop of just a general Q&A session. And so, oops, we'll get the technical going soon. Anyhow, so this is your chance to ask questions, and we've got a few questions that have come up during this last week we'll be going through. But before we get started, would like to let the team introduce themselves to you if you haven't met them at the various sessions already. So, you start.
Hi, this is Handel. I work for the Lava team. I basically concentrate on stuff on Lava dashboard and Lava test shell, and enabling people to write test definitions and stuff. So that's about me.
So I'm Alexander Sack. I'm the director of platforms. One of the teams that I have is the Lava team, which basically has brought this whole workshop together, and I'm happy that I'm sitting here with all of those engineers.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dave Piggott. I'm the Lava Lab lead. Been here with Linaro for a couple of years. Basically, I work on maintaining, getting the Lava lab expanded, supporting it, and trying to make it the best in the world.
Hello, so I'm Antonio Terceiro. I'm a member of the Lava team and software engineer, and I work in the software part of Lava, in both the client side and the server side. And also, when I can, I also help Dave with the hardware stuff that doesn't require kicking. So I do the shouting.
Tyler?
I'm Tyler Baker. I'm the technical architect for automation and CI. I just joined Linaro very shortly, and really looking forward to seeing if we can make some changes and with our CI system and our automation system and our Lava system, and really bring it all together, make it coherent, make it work on a vast number of platforms in a uniform way. Thank you.
Nick?
Hello, I'm Nick Shute. I'm an assignee from Texas Instruments. I'm new on the team. I've got basically 2 weeks with Lava and 2 weeks with Linaro, so look forward to learning more and helping out where I can.
And we're lucky enough to have a special guest today, calling in from Austin, Texas. Andy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I didn't know I was a special guest. So I'm Andy Dillon. Up until about a month ago, I had been the Lava team lead, and I've since joined back at Canonical, but I'm just dialed in to hear what's going on, see if I can help any.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so starting things off, the first question some people are asking is, what does Lava stand for and what's CI? And so Tyler, do you want to give us an intro?
Absolutely. So let's start with CI first. It stands for continuous integration, and really the principles behind that are you're constantly delivering changes to the main line, and those changes are constantly being built and tested, and feedback is making it back to those developers making the change. So that's kind of what CI is. Lava's, Linaro's automated validation architecture that allows us to roll out hardware packs, root file systems, software so that we can test in our CI loop. So really, Lava is a piece of the bigger picture of CI.
And do you want to, you've got some hardware in front of you right now. Do you want to tell us what's been going on there recently?
So we have a newish member, Huawei, and this Connect, they brought over their development board. It's the K3D2. It's a very nice system here, and we were just about an hour ago sitting in the hacking room working with the Huawei team to understand how this board works. And just to give you guys an idea of how long it takes to integrate a new board into Lava, it was about an hour. So Dave and I hacked on this, and we have it working both on the local Lava server that I have installed on this laptop. So I'm going to give you guys a little demo. It doesn't do a whole lot other than reboot the board. It'll start running monkey tests on it. But just to show that now that we have this fast boot capability that Antonio's done, it's really extensible to a lot of platforms, so we can bring new Android devices online very quickly and enable them in the lab. So,
Should we plug the VGA?
yeah, let's see if that'll work.
It is. It's here.
It's here.
Oops.
Never tried VGA on this laptop, so.
trying to mirror the screen instead of have to separate them.
Okay, let's see. I don't want to mess with Xorg right now. I think we've all been burned by Xorg at one point or another. So this is my local Lava machine, and maybe what I'll do, just to kind of give you guys an idea of the implementation that Antonio's done. So this is the Lava server that's at my house right now, and this will give you a little bit better idea. So I have a Nexus device. It's actually not running a Linaro image. I was testing the factory images just so that I could prove out that we can also test Android devices that are running ASLP along with devices that have Google applications on them, so that when you make a product, an Android product, testing on ASLP is fine, but when you add the Google apps, it adds more stress. There's more services running. A lot of companies will want to test it this way. So we can just run this. And this is pretty neat because you're going to get to see the whole process here. Now, with this board, we don't have the binaries yet to flash into the NAND, but with the Galaxy Nexus, we do. So what you'll see here is eventually what this Huawei board will become in our validation lab. So if we go, let's look at the complete log. So let me just run you through this real quick. So what it's done is it's called ADD reboot. It's put the device into a reboot state. We've erased the boot partition, and that'll force the bootloader into fast boot mode. And so now we've made a call to fast boot to erase the boot image just to make sure it's gone, and then we're going to actually flash in the file system and then run tests. So this is what you're going to see basically on this board right here. Okay, let's pop over here.
Yeah, this takes some time.
Yeah, the Galaxy Nexus is a little slow for whatever reason. So we'll come back to that, but we'll kick this job off here. So you can see we already have a device, K3V2. Here, we've got some jobs completing. So what we're going to do here is we'll just resubmit this job. And so this has actually been integrated. The scheduler knows about it, knows how to talk to the board. And it's just to kind of prove a point that really we can scale this thing quickly. We can add board support packages within Lava in a fairly easy manner, and it takes a couple engineers about an hour to do it now. Obviously, you can see the board's rebooted. And it's booting Android, and then after it boots, basically the Lava server will detect that the home screen activity is being shown on the screen, and then it'll start running Lava Android tests on this device, just like it would on a Nexus, just like it would on any other device, any other Android device. So that's kind of the demo. Of course, I tried this like a bunch of times and it was fine. So that's basically the demo, and then we can look at the job file just to get a better feel of what's going on here. So we say we're going to inherit the device type as a Nexus. We're eventually probably going to name this a fast boot device type, and then obviously we gave it a unique name, and we say deploy Linaro image. This is where we pass in the binaries for an Android device, and this will actually use fast boot to flash them in. Then we're going to say we want to boot the Linaro image, and this will wait for the kernel shell prompt to come up, and then also check the activity manager to make sure that the home screen activity is being shown. And then it'll run Lava Android test, it'll run a monkey test, and then submit the results to a bundle string we've already created called K3V2. So basically, this is the framework you need to get started with Lava, and it's basically just to show that it's very easy to add another board. So
where are you? Where is the command to let it know that the activity manager and everything has come up?
So it's a dispatcher command. I believe it's in boot Linaro Android image. My first change to the dispatcher was we were hard coding the activity that we were waiting for. So I said, okay, that's fine. We're going to make basically a string schema that you can define in your configuration file so that you can say, well, I'll just use the default one, basically meaning ASLP, right, which is the launcher 2 activity. If you have some other activity that you'd like to wait for, you can describe it in the device configuration file with com.android. I think it's welcome activity is the activity with GApps installed. So you can actually, it's dynamic now. So you can just, whatever you want to wait for, you can define it, and then Lava Server will wait for it. So, and that's kind of what I really like to drive with Lava, is that we make it an interface. We give the developers all the power to change whatever they need. We don't dictate that it's going to just be this. The hard coding strings in the dispatcher is something that just doesn't scale very well. So we're really going to try to make it an interface, and it already is an enabler. So basically present something that is very general, that can be used in many different ways.
Oh,
Great.
thank you. Very nice.
Very good. So I'm actually quite impressed to see this demo coming up today, because he said yesterday to me he would do it, it's doable, and I said, okay, give it a try. Now he comes here and it's working, so very well done, Tyler. So what we did over the whole week, we basically had an introduction session, and we had lots of interest from people coming to us, even outside of this workshop, and they asked many, many questions to us. They had problems, we helped them to solve them. And what I asked my team to do is basically to collect all those questions and all those problems so we can take a look at them afterwards. We will basically then later also at home go and really look closer. Where are the problems coming from? How can we fix them at the root cause? And what can we do? And we have selected now a set of questions, as Kate have already started to do that. And then we thought about what is the real problem. And one thing on a really meta level, which I would like Tyler to answer for, is basically what in general, I mean, if you have a problem or you have questions about Lava, and you might not have access to our team directly, and you don't want to wait till they're available for answering an email, what can you actually do to actually solve the problem on your own, and to get to a solution? What is the right approach they should deal with you guys? So what is it?
So I would say, I think there's a famous quote, it's use the source, Luke, use the source. It's an open source project. There's nothing we're hiding with Lava. There's no black magic under the hood. Really, you can either use grep or whatever way you want to get through the source code to understand how it works. That's the best way. That's how you gain the understanding, is looking at the source code. Now, you can also read our documentation. We have some extensive documentation on Read the Docs. That's a good place to start, and I would probably recommend you start there first, and then pull the source code down and start becoming familiar with it by browsing it. We also have Launchpad. You can file a bug. You can get involved that way if you found that there's an issue with Lava. Obviously, we have a mailing list. It's Linaro-validation at linaro.org. You can reach the whole team that way. We also are in IRC, so you can come into #Linaro-validation and ask the questions.
#Lava.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Fresh Lava.
It already #Lava.
You're right, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, come in there and basically pose a question. The one thing to realize about IRC is that don't just come in there, ask a question, and if nobody responds within 15 minutes, leave, because we're a distributed team, so the time zones, nobody might be idling in IRC, so just keep that in mind.
One more comment to this point. So I think it's great the way we work. I mean, we work completely in the open. You can directly have access to the team and so on. But in general, so now I also want to ensure that we have a good quality for our members, because they mean lots for us. And if you really want to talk not in the open, on the private, there are also ways to do that. In our member services, you have set up a great support system. You can find it under support.linaro.org. And if you file your questions there, they will ensure that your problem will be addressed, that we come back with an answer, and that we're connected to the right people to talk to, and in a private channel. So what he was talking about is usually public support, and I would encourage everybody to try to use a public channel as much as they can, or file a public bug. But if it's secret, you cannot mention it, or you don't know if it's secret, feel welcome to use that as a support channel, or send them a direct email. But it's easier for us to balance and direct the questions if you really go through support.linaro.org.
So with that, speaking of questions, are there questions in the audience? And if so, just go ahead and stand up by the mics there. Or Danilo, or raise your hand and Danilo will come by and ask your questions. And does anyone have any burning questions that they must ask right now? Okay, then if there's nothing right now, we'll start talking some of the questions we got online and from various other people. And by all means, so if you think of a question, please just ask. So one of the things you're mentioning is, by all means, do it in public, do it open. So Dave, what is it necessary in order for them to, what are some good good practices for people to behave properly in the open when interacting with the team.
Well, if you're going to be implementing Lava at your own site, you're going to make changes, you're going to integrate your devices, you may find that there's better ways of doing things. And this is where upstreaming is so important, because Lava is continually developing. And so you may find that the next time you pull down the Lava tip, that your code doesn't integrate anymore. However, if you push up, we push the code up, say why you're doing, what it is you've done and why you've done it, and you can do then what's called a merge proposal. And if you do a merge proposal, we take a look at it, we peer review it, we may come back with questions, we may go, hey, that's a great idea, let's just do it. We may say, actually, there is already a way of doing this, and explain. But that means if we accept it, it goes into our code, and the next time you pull down, your code will work.
Yeah, that's great. Another question that is always coming up and has always been asked for a long time is basically, you use Lava to basically develop your own tests and so on, but you also basically get access to existing test suites that we have either integrated or developed in Linaro. And I would really like to ask Santel, who has basically developed the new way of, and defined a new way of doing testing, to give us maybe an overview of how many tests do we have, what do they cover, and which areas are they actually in?
So basically we have quite some test suites which are available as part of the Git repository which we have. So for Ubuntu, if you see, like we have almost like 12 test suites, and for Android we have like 4 to 5, and also we have some tests for Open Embedded. Basically, if you see specifically, if you take case of Ubuntu, we are trying to like also include some open source tests on the Ubuntu test suite. So for example, you have the LTP tests which have been run as part of Lava test shell. So that is one of the good examples of how you can integrate open source tests on with the help of Lava test shell. And also we also try to convert most of the monkey render and ADB tests wherever possible without making use of ADB or monkey render, which could be run on the target device. So those kind of examples are also available as part of the Git repository which we are talking about.
So I mean, that's good. I mean, so if people look at the tests and they feel like there are gaps, and they would like to actually get a new test case into Lava, what should they do with that?
So in order to get new test cases inside Lava, what you can do is you can go through existing tests. I'm pretty sure that you excuse me. I'm pretty sure that you'll at least find one test case which is already available, which caters to your needs. So you can take it as an example, write your own test case, and then post it on the validation mailing list in order to get it reviewed by one of the validation engineers, in order to get it reviewed, and then you can push it to the Git repository. So, and writing tests, you have documentation about Lava test shell, which gives you all the parameters and steps in different sections which you need to include in your Lava test case and things like that. So it is pretty simple. Almost everything could be got from the repository which is existing, because we've carefully chosen tests across different areas where people will be writing new test cases in future. So you'll at least find one test suite which caters to your needs, so you can take it as a reference and do it.
Right, that's good. So if you're like an Linaro engineer, and you're somebody who uses the Linaro infrastructure, specifically Linaro CI, and now you have all those test cases, but you want to actually have those test cases being run in our infrastructure continuously or for one time, how do you do that?
So for CA integrations, of course, for example, we take the Ubuntu CA integration. So what we do is, as part of the builds, once they are over, we we have a script which generates the job definition for us, and then submits the job directly to the validation.linaro.org. So like this, if you have an image which has been built by and you have unit tests being run on Jenkins or like your CI integration server, you can have a script at the end of the runs. You can have a script that submits job directly to the Lava like validation server, so that you can see all the results there. And for each of these images, we also have reports which specifies what are the tests that have been run, what are the results which are part of this test run.
So I want to make one more thing clear, basically, about how test cases are created in Linaro and what we do deliver and what we not deliver. We basically have the approach of integrating all the open source tests that are relevant for us that we can find around. That's basically one effort we are doing. There are things like LTP, in AOSP we have CTS, and we also have the AOSP included unit tests. And there are a bunch of other of those frameworks that are available. The other things we're writing as part of the build and baselines team that are tasked to produce builds from Android, for Ubuntu, and Open Embedded, we basically take care to make automation happening in a full system stack. So for instance, in Android, we have ramped up a substantial set of monkey runner tests that we basically can continuously run to test real-life use cases. And the third approach we are taking is going deep in our heavy lifting projects such as Big Little and really ensuring that those parts that they are touching get heavily tested. And those test cases are all available for the members, and they can make use of them. However, everything else is not really what we are working on because it's such a huge task. You cannot really fill up the whole Linux ecosystem from zero to full testing. And I encourage everybody, if you have areas where you feel there's something missing, please talk to us. Maybe we can work together and make it happen and expand the test suite for everybody. The stuff we are developing, though, in those heavy lifting projects is actually made for our members only. So that's something where we say this is huge value we are creating, and basically our members can then take that and run it in Lava. So go ahead, Kim.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Sethi. Antonio, there's been some questions coming up on the Lava extensions and how do people actually go about extending Lava for their particular things without breaking the next release?
Yeah, okay, so first thing, if you are changing the Lava core, then you want to do what Dave said about upstreaming your changes, but you also can have extensions that you want to keep separate from the Lava core, either because you want to be able to change them without going through us, or because you don't want to publish them. So there are two main places where you can extend Lava without changing the Lava source code itself. So you can add new web interface visualizations, for instance, so you can extend the Lava web UI by adding new components and defining entry points. So you create a new Python project. Actually, our documentation for that is a little out of date, and there's an open bug for me to update it, but basically you create a new Python project that's completely isolated from the Lava source code, and then you define entry points, which are the API that the Lava uses to call those extensions. So one web UI extension can add new items to the menu or new visualization, so you can implement new ways of visualizing the test results, for instance. So you can create graphs or create custom reports about the test results. Another point of extension is extending the Lava dispatcher. So you saw that Tyler showed the test definition there, job description there, with a series of commands like deploy an image, boot the device, and run these tests. So anyone can implement new types of actions. So might be a device-specific action like simulating some external event or anything else you can do with the device. Then you can also write an extension in the same way you can do it for the web UI. So you create an isolated Python project that declares the entry points for that extension, and then you can use your own extension without changing the Lava source code.
So one of the questions that got written in was from How can Lava support tests between some target boards and phones? For example, a target board A communicating with target board B?
Yeah, we are still in the process of making that possible. So we had a session yesterday in the morning about multi-node testing. So we are going to work on this, and we're probably gonna have some prototype implementation by next Connect.
Cool.
So you will be able to specify, like, I want a server device and a client device, and then you will be able to make the client make requests to the server and capture results and accumulate that as a benchmark, and you know if the new version of the image of the or any tool is breaking the.
Something like that I want to verify.
Mhm.
But you know, it test happens not only in the command or test Lava test that we run on the device, but also it needs to be sent external data or some kind of network traffic or something like that. So do we have any infrastructure or any plans to support that kind of a system?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So you mean having another device that's not an ARM device as a client? I mean.
Yeah, it could be like a classic example would be something like a network interface where they're just pounding a lot of packets onto the
Okay.
onto the test device.
Sure.
But there are different patterns that they want to send and stuff like that. So it could be like another x86 machine, or it could be like another networks or whatever protocol analyzers they have, or traffic generators they have.
Okay, so there's a lot of initiatives in that area. So first, there is the multi-node testing. So to use a x86 box, for instance, we just add support to having x86 box in Lava. So you'd handle an x86 box just like you handle an ARM device. So you would request I want an x86 client and I want an ARM server, and then you make the x86 box do whatever it has to do as a client. And for special stuff like external hardware, as you're saying, like internet interface,
No, I mean like
there's a
at least that additional external hardware could be controlled by another x86 machine, right? So
there's also the Lava LMP that Andy Green is working on. It's a very impressive hardware design. It's all open source, the hardware design, the firmware, everything, and it's probably possible to do that using those devices.
And already we're developing with like the ARM Power Probe and the NI battery simulator as an external device that we're controlling.
Yeah,
so that's
who's controlling that external device?
that's done through the dispatcher.
Right now is the Lava dispatcher.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's treated like another device.
Yeah. It's a device to control.
Yeah, actually, it's controlled by the dispatcher. So the dispatcher is the Lava component that talks to the board. So it runs in an x86 host, and then Lava has the means to tell how the dispatcher should control that device. So you can specify in your test what the host should do. For instance, inject packets, or in our case right now is measuring power with the energy probe, or capturing sound or sending sound. So Lava has the mechanisms to do that.
On the LFP boards, is there like a contract manufacturer or somewhere that people can just order these boards in, as opposed to like?
They're not ready for manufacture just yet. There's still a few little bits to iron out, but we haven't taken a policy decision, or there's been no decision made about manufacture at the moment.
And whoever wants to do that's going to make a lot of money. Everybody wants one of those.
I don't think, this request is coming from a lot of our member companies, right? So it doesn't make sense for them to manufacture their own thing for like making 2 or 3 of these. I mean,
Oh yeah.
they want to be able to just like pay like $20 or $30 or whatever. I mean, like even to actually get that LMP board or USB plug and plug board or whatever. So I think we should seriously considering setting up a small and distributing through some DGP or even like or whatever to Amazon or something. I'm not exactly sure.
We only saw it for the first time, other than in sort of pictures and descriptions, yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, we had to make a decision on whether we do a contract manufacturer or what we don't. That just
We're exploring options onto making it available. We think it's a very useful piece of technology. and it's just a matter of exploring options of how to get into people's hands.
So for right now, if a member company wants to deploy and they want to get a board, where do I go to, like, to just get some boards?
Probably talk
It
to
is.
Alexander or me.
So, as it is with hardware, it's usually, it takes some time to shape out all the issues that you have. So I don't believe that the board, you could have it right away, but I'm assuming we are working on it to make it available, and we are discussing this internally. I mean, you can give us input if you want to try it out on your own for your member before you give it to them. But I would suggest to not give it to the, say like, you get this stuff now and basically can already use it.
We
so.
should have our plans more pulled together on this by Dublin.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like I say, it's new technology, we're all really excited about it. It's just, we have to, it's prototype, and so we just have to make sure that we can figure out how to get to you.
And also remember, we are kind of a software company. So I mean, we are not very good at, I
And
mean, I must say we are
nonprofit
not
too.
very good at predicting what happens with hardware and put it on a roadmap and guarantee members it will be there. So we actually have to learn that first. And it might take a while longer than we anticipate. And that's why actually I anticipated it might take longer. So we will see. I'm very excited about this device coming along, and let's make it happen. So there are lots of people here that actually get in contact with Lava for the first time and basically have to get started on it. And since we have one very recent team member here in our panel, I would like to ask Nick, basically, how is it to actually onboard on the team, to get used to this technology, and what are you most excited about after being here for just a few days?
Yeah, okay. I guess I basically worked for about 2 weeks before coming to Connect here on this, and I have to say, you know, it's just the tools in general. I'm about learning a new tool every day, but it's been really easy. These guys have been really good at answering my questions very quickly and helping me get going. The docs were good enough for me to install Lava at home, even though I'd never seen it before. I'm coming from a closed source environment too, so it's a big refreshing change to see stuff like this open. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then coming to Connect here has also been very, very interesting to do early on, because I get to see real customers and real people who want to use this, and that there's quite a bit of excitement about it. I'm not just being told that it's exciting, I'm actually seeing it. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Glad to have you. As you saw, one of the boards came on very, very quickly, but I know it's been covered a little bit in some of the other talks, but do you want to just give a brief overview, Dave, of actually how many boards we've got and what the stories are like? And
Wow. Well,
like that?
yeah, so 2 years ago when I started, I think we had 4 boards that were actually running in Lava. It wasn't actually as a live service at that point. We're now up to 87 devices, and that's a combination of dev boards, mobile devices, servers, models, fast models, FPGA modeling with Versatile Express. We're 5 racks now. We should be, 7 racks by the end of next week. And we have space for 10. And so we might have to open a new lab at some point. But yeah, it's huge.
In terms of what are your actual recommendations if people want to try setting things up for themselves at home?
Right.
What's with serial consoles, PDU
Right.
recommendations? Do you have any preferred things where you think that we think it's easy for people to do?
Yeah, if you're setting it up at home, then you can get a little 4-port PDU. That's a software controllable power distribution unit. So you can actually control the power yourself from under software control. That's important for Lava, because if you have completely bricked a board, you have to take the power down, bring the power back up, get the machine back into a known good state. If you were, and for the serial access, if you're at home, you can just do it with a USB serial cable and you're fine.
Right.
If you're trying to deploy in a sort of more industrial environment like the Lava Lab, then you are going to need a larger PDU they go from 4-port up to 48-port, I think. You're going to need a console server. These are serial console servers, so you can talk to the boards. You don't use up all your serial ports on your server. You talk actually through Telnet through these console servers onto the serial ports of the boards. The one we use is from a company called Avocent. I'm not advertising, I'm just saying that's the one we use, and it's called the Cyclades 5000 series. And they're pretty good. I mean, they work very well.
Thank you.
So the next one is actually for Andy, and I have a very good question for him because he has been there for a long time, and we have been in that time. We have been bringing up so many boards and so many different boards, and we had many problems as well. So even though this board came up in an hour, that was not always the case. So I would like to ask Andy actually, what were the really pain points with those boards that we had brought up, and would you give any advice to our members if they actually design a board in the future to make it very easy to integrate that into Lava and to be basically up and running without any trouble? Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's kind of two worlds, I guess, with boards now. You see how easy it is if you just have a pure Android device now and it's using fast food. So that's kind of a different thing, but if you're doing just generic, Linux and Ubuntu type boards, the big things that we've had problems with in the past and that are actually kind of easy to get right. So one of the first ones is just how you power on and off the board. Don't put like a push button to power it on and off. That doesn't work in automation. So if you make it just, plug a cable in, plug it out, then we can control these things remotely and life's a lot easier. Also, the sooner you can get a reliable serial console working is really important. That's the serial console is Lava's lifeline to talk to the device. It's the only way that we can ascertain what that device is doing at any given time. So if that's not reliable or not working, we're really in the dark and we can't do much. The other thing that is kind of important is it's almost built into Linaro's DNA in some ways of how we've always dealt with boards is if your board works off of an SD card, it's a lot easier. That's how all the kind of classic boards that we've done the most work with in Linaro have worked. So you're going to be, life is easier if you do it that way. Now with the new Android stuff that Antonio has worked on, some of those assumptions can kind of go out the window because you assume there's a fixed fast boot that always works. So things are a little bit easier because we can always talk to it over USB and put new images on and off. So those are a little bit easier. But if you're not assuming a working fixed fast boot, then you really need all those other things. And then the super nice to have, like if you start thinking about the new enterprise group in Linaro, like those boards, if you can start including things like out-of-band management, so you could say control one with IPMI or something, then we can give you just really first-class support for that board. So that would be it. If I could give my wish of all wishes, it would be like out-of-band management for a board. That's awesome.
Well, and then, I guess on that note, Tyler, thank you, Andy. Good to hear you. How can people get involved in doing development with Lava? If they want to help us create this out-of-band management, et cetera, or some of the community tasks and things like that.
Yeah, so we have a spot on the wiki. If you're a community member that wants to contribute, we have a little spot set up where we have some, it'd be nice to have this, and if somebody wants to grab that task, pull down the source code and implement it, and then push it back up for review, we'd really appreciate that. And like the keynote talk this morning, we're not mean kernel guys. We really like any sort of merge proposal to look at and to review. We're not going to yell at you or call you names or anything. So don't think of us as intimidating people. But yeah, that's the best way. Come talk to us in IRC. Get on the mailing list if you have a question. And I think we're always willing to lend a hand and help out. Anybody here in the team really will do that.
So, next one is for Dave. So, when you run this big lab basically, and for a while, I mean, I think we had problems with reliability in there, and maybe you could summarize what kind of steps or measures did we take, on the software side, but also on the operational side, how you manage the lab, roll out stuff, what we do with failures,
Right.
in order to actually fight it, and how far we have come so far.
Well, when we first rolled out Lava, the jobs were just running and they either passed or failed. And we really didn't have a measure of whether the failure was due to some problem on the board, some problem within Lava itself, or a problem with the job. And it's really the problem with the job that you want to find out about. And so we decided to institute a health check system. So this is basically the idea that you run a known good, you deploy a known good image onto the board that you know boots on that device. You boot it up, you then actually, most of our health checks, we deploy an Ubuntu image, a known good Ubuntu image, boot it up, and then we deploy a known good Android image and boot it up. As long as we get into the boot, we're fairly confident that the board itself is okay and that Lava itself is okay. Now, in the event that a board fails a check, it is immediately taken offline, automatically. That's done by Lava itself. And we get an email telling us that something's gone offline. And so we can get onto the board and actually find out what's happened. Typically, we go back through the log of the health check and we can see what the failure was. And up until 6 months ago, our failure rate was running at about 20%, which is not good. It doesn't give you a great deal of confidence that something you're running through the lab is actually, going to give you any meaningful data, because if 1 out of 5 tests are failing because of Lava, then you've got a problem. And so we instituted a change, came up with this harebrained scheme when we were in Copenhagen, and I made this foolish commitment to Alexander that we'll get it above 99%. Success rate, not failure. And in fact, the change I made was simple in retrospect. It's basically that if you boot into an image and you don't get into that image, then try it again a couple of times. And if it doesn't for 3 times, you've probably got a problem with the board. And it has indeed pushed our pass rate up to 99%. We're working now to get it to that 99.9%. Tyler referenced that sort of asymptotic curve where it takes more and more effort to get towards perfection. The last 1% takes 100% of your time. In terms of the boards themselves, so one of the things we started tracking early was, because there's SD cards in most of the boards, is we thought we're doing a lot of reads and writes on these SD cards. We know that gives them a lifetime. And so we started measuring failure of SD cards. In the 2 years we have been running, we've had 5 SD card failures, tops. That's not strictly true. Before we went live, we were having more than we should have. And that was just down to the quality of the SD cards we were buying. So we bought better quality SD cards, and we rarely have a failure now. And of course, technology moves on, and the SD cards you buy now are better than they were 2 years ago. That's about it.
Just one thing I want to clarify. So we're doing the retries for the tests that are being submitted, or just for the health checks as well?
No. Fixing it for the health check is pointless, right?
I know. I just want to clarify.
No. Yes, we do it for everything. Yeah. So if you don't get into the master image, you retry. for anything. Yeah, no special casing for health checks because that's kind of silly.
So are you able to support the ARM emulator in test right now, this? In the ballpark farm?
The fast models.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we already support fast models. We've got a single core of each big little, a quad core of each big little, a V8, both the foundation models and the RTSM. So yeah, we've got a number of them already in there, and so the idea
Models
of
are available too.
those are available to you. You can test your V8 code already.
Right.
So, I have one more for Andy actually. He, I mean, he has been like fighting so many issues inside of Lava, and if you're doing that, you sometimes lose perspective about, I mean, the value of the product, and is it something neat that you can use basically easily and so on. And now that he's gone back and is now working on different infrastructure, I don't want him to make a comparison or anything. I would like to hear from him what he really now thinks about Lava looking back. What have you achieved, and what state are we now? And especially if you have seen the demo here.
Yeah, so one thing I'm really proud of that the team did, I think Dave was wrong. I think it was above 20% failure rate if you went back like 8 or 9 months. It was bad. There were some dark days, but these guys did amazing work, and we're starting to build trust in Lava, and that's a really cool thing. One of the things I'm starting to really kind of look back on now, that I think Linaro's done well with Lava, especially when you look at how many different members and how many different people want to do testing, that Lava is a pretty nice consolidated thing right now. And with the new push of like integrating CI and everything together, it's just a really good story. I know that I'm working on something different but similar now, and we're not so consolidated, and it's a lot harder. You got to chase down a lot of things, and there's a lot of these little one-off scripts that lay around, and I think Lava has a really nice approach for that. There's a new thing, I'm going to start calling it the Tyler Baker effect, I think. I think Tyler's just, he's an amazing story about like what Lava is and can be. I mean, we were sitting here a month ago trying to make Galaxy Nexus work, and all of a sudden this dude shows up on our IRC channel we've never heard of, and he deployed a Galaxy Nexus in his company before we were able to. And I mean, I think that's just an amazing story for how good that my team was doing at the time. Because, you know, like, obviously there's some documentation that was good enough, and we, you know, I don't know how he was able to do it so well. I mean, he's partly just a mad genius, I think. But, you know, the fact that we were so open and stuff, that he could be ahead of the curve is really cool. And I think that, I hope other companies kind of take like that approach and mindset that Tyler did, because it really, that's the best way to work with the open source community, and you just create this magic. It's, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
I fully agree with you. So I mean,
Thanks, Andy.
I'm responsible for this team, and I have so many things to do, and I just see, basically, and look back at it, and I just wonder, I mean, how did that happen? I mean, it's good to see it going. So now we've been talking about the past and the current state for a bit, and I would really like to look more and move more to the future. I mean, what's coming, and let's have a quick round. The time is running out, so let's do it quick. So I have one question for Santo first. So people would like something to know, kind of, what does a test do? What kind of coverage is it? And they always ask, I mean, what is the test coverage you have? Is there anything you think we can do about that in the future, that it's easier to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so right now we don't have anything to measure the test coverage or what the test suits are covering and things like that. It depends upon what we want to measure. So right now what we do is like we see whether a feature is enabled or not. So it doesn't go into the code and see whether all the code paths are being executed and things like that. But if you see in the case of LTB tests, like they already have the test suite defined. So we run the LTB test, and then it has a code coverage on itself, and it has reports on whatever has been covered. So in future, like we may need to have test suites where we have proper measurements for code coverages and stuff like that. So that is one of the things like we need to include as part of Lava test shell. It's not about like enablement tests like or see whether something works or not. So in that case, we don't have anything to say whether this test is effective or not. But when we go to test the actual code paths and different things, so we can go about thinking about like how to measure the code coverage and stuff like that. So that is maybe we'll think in future how to include that in Lava test shell so that it gives more intuitive views on how the code paths are being covered and things like that.
Thank you. Thank you. This should be interesting. Antonio, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to be able to support the use case of distributed tests. So we have the multi-node testing it's going to be important both for the enterprise group and for the networking group. So that's one important thing that we should probably that I'm looking forward. And the other thing is improving the user experience of people who write tests and when those tests submitted to Lava. So right now it's not hard, but it's a lot to take in at the same time. So we want to make sure that with just a few commands that someone is able to submit an existing test suite or a new test suite to Lava and have it run both on a local Lava installation or in the Linaro installation or in any other. So I think that's very important for us to do, to get Lava very broader adoption. I forgot the term, sorry. Yeah, adoption, yeah.
Have you also been thinking a bit about the kernel developer story, or was it not you? I cannot remember how kernel developers can really make use of Lava. And did you have been thinking about it? I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah. I think we should support the use case of just submitting a Linux binary and have it booted with optionally some NHRD or some pre-built NHRD. So I think that's very important. And if it makes it easier for those guys to test the things before they get to the kernel maintenance, then I think we should do that.
Yes, after Greg's comments this morning, that sounds like a good idea. Anyhow, and so Tyler, why don't you wrap us all up? I think we're just about out of time, but what are you looking forward to and what's coming up?
I think I'm going to really strive to make Lava easier to deploy boards. Now you saw this looked easy. Really it was hacking on a Python file that we had already made, so that's why it was easier. Really we need to get rid of having to manually write the config files for each device. That should be done through the web interface, just so you don't have to shell into the server to add new devices. And correctly place dispatcher extension points so that Lava, out of the box supports, the boards that we supported in the validation lab. And if somebody wants to come along, like Antonio was talking about, they could create their own Python project standalone that gives Lava board support to the dispatcher by installing the extension. So that it's not, you really don't have to get into the dispatcher and write code into the dispatcher to create new board support packages. So it's like a modular, pluggable architecture that I envision for doing that. And then we also have a problem with, we do document things, and I think the documentation's got a lot better, but we have this long-running mainline where we figure out a way to align our documentation with the software, whether that's a tag, whether we say, we check out a branch on our deployment tool that aligns with documentation, so that when somebody gets an out-of-the-box experience, there's no issues because the documentation needs to be updated. You can, guarantee the results of what the documentation say are reproducible on your local machine. So, I'm going to really strive to make that happen and make that happen quickly. Also, power measurements. I got the rundown from Zach, what Andy and Zach have been doing with the National Instruments battery simulator and all that cool LabVIEW stuff they have going. So I actually have a little shell script to just kind of wrap that whole TCP Connect thing already, and I'm looking forward to getting that integrated. In fact, I actually have a job that I just checked in and tried to run on the validation server to utilize the power meters. So, power measurements, and then that's only one part of it, just being able to take the power measurements, but then being able to visualize the power measurements, on a per bill basis and look at the trends. I mean, I think that's where we need to go because we're all about being low power here, working with ARM processors. So we need to be able to show that we are making power improvements, and we should be able to do this with the Lava architecture. So really looking forward to making those changes and driving that forward.
Well, I'm looking forward to putting some of that stuff on the roadmap. No
Thanks.
question.
Very well done. So just two more things. I mean, in general, it was a long week. It was an exciting week. It's very hard and exhaustive. But you still have the chance to talk to those guys and go into their hacking room and really work with them on some stuff. So if you have any problems and so on, make use of that time. Otherwise, do what we just discussed in the first question to reach out to them. And then last, big thanks to the whole team for pulling this off. When we started this idea of creating this Lava workshop like 2 weeks ago, it's like everybody was already busy with doing a release, with bringing stuff together for all the other sessions and so on. And those guys were addressed as night and day to prepare those demos, the hands-on training, running it through 20 times with me, staying up like all night and doing all this stuff. So thanks for everybody. It was a great show, and I really loved it to be it. And all the questions received, that's a big pool and so valuable for us to actually go now and either fix problems or make great FAQs and documentation to really get that going for you guys. And finally, thanks to Andy for showing up here like at night or whatever. It looks really dark there, but I'm not sure. So,
It's 11 p.m. Not too late.
okay, that's normal, right?
Thank you very much again for joining us. We appreciate it.
And we will be demonstrating the Galaxy Nexus phone running Lava tomorrow in the demo Friday.